Let's be honest, fire safety regulations can sometimes feel like just a long list of chores, right? A burden. But what if we thought about them differently? Think of them as an invisible shield, a really smart system that, when you get it right, protects lives, businesses, and everything you've worked for. Today, we're going to peek behind that shield and see exactly how it all works.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a big question. Imagine a fire broke out where you work, right now, this very second. Do you know who the law would point its finger at? For a lot of you listening, maybe you're a business owner, a landlord, a manager. The answer is probably you. And that legal weight is huge. Understanding it isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely the first and most critical step.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to nail down exactly what your legal duty is. Then, we're diving into the absolute cornerstone of any safety plan, the fire risk assessment. After that, we'll get into the real practical stuff, getting people out, keeping the fire in, and all the essential tools you need. And we'll wrap up by looking at how you can help the firefighters when they show up. Sound good? Let's get to it. All right, Section 1, your legal duty. Before we even start thinking about fire extinguishers or exit signs, we have to answer the biggest question of all. Who does the law actually say is in charge here? And it all boils down to one really important piece of legislation. This right here is the big one, the Fire Safety Order 2005, and its reach is, well, it's massive. We're talking offices, shops, factories, even the common areas of apartment buildings. Basically, if you're in a space that isn't someone's private home, this law almost certainly applies to you. And what it does is define a very specific role with very specific jobs to do.
The law calls this person the responsible person. And look, this isn't some vague, abstract idea. It's the employer. It's the company that owns the building. Or it could be whoever's occupying it and has control. The key thing to get from this is that it's not someone else's problem. If you were in any position of authority at your workplace, chances are that legal duty for fire safety lands right on your shoulders.
So we know who's in charge. Now, what's their single most important job? It's this: to carry out and to regularly review a fire risk assessment. I honestly cannot stress this enough. This is not just some bit of paperwork you file away and forget about. It is the absolute foundation that your entire fire safety strategy is built on. Now check out this quote from the official government guidance. This is so important. It highlights that fire safety isn't a one-and-done thing. It's not just about how the building was constructed, it's about how it's managed every single day. Your risk assessment has to be a living, breathing document, because your workplace is a living, breathing place. It has to reflect the reality of how that space is actually used. The whole process itself breaks down into 5 pretty logical steps. First, you look for the hazards. You know, what could actually start a fire? Faulty wiring, flammable stuff lying around? Second, you identify who's at risk. Not just staff, but visitors, and especially anyone who might need extra help. Third, you evaluate those risks and figure out how to reduce them. Fourth, and this is a big one, you write it all down, make a plan, and train your people on it. And finally, you review it, all the time, because things always change.
This leads us right into Section 3, which is the #1 priority in any fire: planning a safe escape. Everything you found in your risk assessment feeds into this, but the law sets out a very, very clear goal that you just can't compromise on.
Under Requirement B1 of the building regs, the objective is crystal clear. Everyone, and I mean everyone, no matter their age or physical ability, has to be able to get from wherever they are in the building to a place of safety. And here's the kicker: they have to be able to do it without waiting for the fire brigade to come and help them. You don't plan for rescue, you plan for escape.
So what does that really mean in practice? Well, it's all this common sense stuff. You need enough exits, and they need to be wide enough for everybody. Critically, the doors have to open easily outwards in the direction you're running. I mean, you don't want to be pulling a door towards you when there's a crowd pushing from behind, right? And of course, if the power cuts out, you need emergency lights and clear signs to show the way.
Now, let's talk about something that goes wrong all the time: door locks. Any lock on an escape route has to be something you can open from the inside without a key. Simple thumb turns, push pads, that's fine. In a bigger space with more than 60 people, you'll need those push bars, panic bars. But a lock that you need a key for to get out, that's not a security feature. That's a death trap waiting to happen.
Okay, so we have a plan to get people out. The other side of that coin is giving them enough time to actually do it. And that means slowing the fire down. This is all about containment, designing the building to limit the spread of fire and smoke, which protects those precious escape routes we just talked about.
The key idea here is something called compartmentation. Honestly, the best way to picture it is like the watertight compartments in a ship.
The building is divided up into these fire-resistant boxes using special walls and floors. So if a fire starts in one box, the idea is that these barriers will hold it there for a while, buying you minutes, maybe even hours, and stop it from ripping through the whole building.
But here's the catch. A fire-resistant wall is only as good as its weakest spot. Any little gap, no matter how small, for pipes, for computer cables, for air ducts, is a potential highway for fire and deadly smoke. That's why every single one of those little holes has to be properly sealed with special fire-stopping materials.
You'll see these technical codes on building plans, and they can look kind of confusing, but let's just quickly decode them. E is for integrity. It stops flames from getting through. I is for insulation. It stops heat. And R is for being able to bear a load. So an E30 fire door, that'll hold back flames for at least 30 minutes. An REI 60 wall, it'll hold its load and stop flames and heat for at least an hour. Simple as that.
Okay, so we've got the plan. We've got the building's built-in features. But what about the active tools? And, maybe even more importantly, the human element. The knowledge that makes it all work in an actual emergency. Well, that's what this section is all about.
This is your basic fire safety toolkit. You need a reliable alarm to give you that crucial early warning. Emergency lights for when the power goes out. Clear signs pointing the way. The right kind of fire extinguishers in the right places. And staff trained to use them on a small fire. And of course, those self-closing fire doors, which you have to make sure are never, ever propped open.
Take a look at this number, 1. What do you think that represents? It's not one fire extinguisher. It's the minimum number of full-blown fire drills you are legally required to carry out every single year. It is absolutely non-negotiable, and there's a very, very good reason for it.
Because all the fancy equipment in the world is totally useless if people don't know what to do. Training and drills are what turn a plan on a piece of paper into an automatic, life-saving reflex. It builds muscle memory, so that in the smoke and the panic of a real fire, people just react correctly without even having to think about it. All right, we're at our final section, the last link in this whole safety chain. Your responsibility doesn't just stop when the last person is safely outside. You also have a legal duty to work with the fire and rescue service to make sure that when they get there, they have what they need to do their jobs safely.
And you really do have to plan for their arrival. This isn't something you can leave to chance. It means making sure a fire engine can physically get close enough to your building. It means they need to know where the hydrants are. In tall buildings, it means special shafts and lifts for them to use. And it means giving them crucial information the second they show up.
And that information comes in what's called the Regulation 38 pack. The best way to think of it is as the instruction manual for your building's fire strategy. It tells the fire commander everything they need to know, fast. The layout, where the gas shutoff is, what kind of alarm system you have. It's the intel they need to make the right calls in seconds, not minutes. And that really brings us to our final thought. A fire safety plan isn't a certificate you get once and then hang on the wall. A workplace is always changing. New layouts, new equipment, new people. Your plan has to change with it. Fire safety is never done. It's a continuous cycle of checking and reviewing and improving. That's how you keep that invisible shield strong.